Hi, everyone. Ann Louise here yet once again for First Lady of Nutrition. And it's my pleasure to tell you that my new book, Radical Longevity, has just hit the stands. Go to radicallongevitybook.com to learn how you can sharpen your brain, strengthen your body, and reverse the symptoms of aging, and even extend the life of your sex life. And that's going to be a bit of a topic that we're discussing today, because with me today in studio is Dr. Sherrill Sellman, who is a very well-respected naturopathic doctor whose career has spanned over 40 years. And she has lived all over the world and studied indigenous wisdom with Native American elders, Australian Aboriginal elders, and even Hawaiian elders. So she's got wisdom, she's got style, she's got grace, she's got beauty, she's got gusto, and she's with me today. Welcome to you, Dr. Sherrill.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be with you, Ann Louise. Thanks so much for having me.
So you have written many books. Could you tell my listening audience the nature of the books that you've written over your 40-year most illustrious career?
Yeah, my first book is called Hormone Heresy: What Women Must Know About Hormones. And then out of that research, and that was really that was quite a while ago, although it's eighth or ninth printing, Ann Louise, so it's still alive and well and as relevant as ever. And, I was really challenging the strong belief system that existed, 20 or so years ago, that women were deteriorating with menopause and required pharmaceutical help and hormone replacement therapy. So it was a whole education to women to wake up, similar to your calling as well. And then because of all of the research I had through doing lectures. This was in Australia where I was living at the time. So I was lecturing all over Australia. I was in every newspaper, every TV show, everything was going on back then. It was such a hit because it was topical. And then I started meeting all these young women who were diagnosed with breast cancer. So I started investigating what was driving this trend of younger women being diagnosed with breast cancer, because it's much more virulent and much more dangerous to have a diagnosis when you're young. So that led to a second book, What Mothers Must Know to Protect Their Daughters from Breast Cancer. And then I went on and I've written books about various natural solutions like chia. I'm writing a book about noni right now. And it's just wrote a book about CBDs. So just added to the list. And I'm not quite up to your speed, Ann Louise.
Oh, you're
getting there.
No, you're so getting there.
But I also want to say, Ann Louise, that even before I knew you, and our relationship goes back a while now, but even before I had the honor of personally connecting with you, you have been such an influence in my learning and my education. And so when we finally had a chance to meet, and then we've been friends and supported and inspired each other, it's been such a blessing to have you in my life.
That's so sweet. How long has it been since we've known each other, my dear?
Oh, you know what? At least 25 years.
Wow. We've been through quite a bit together from coast to coast, and now you're going to be in Australia once again, from what I hear. What's taking you back to Australia?
I've lived for 20 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I really loved living in a small city, and it was very livable and very loving and supportive. And I have a long-term love affair with Australia. I've been a permanent resident for 40 years. I go back and forth all the time. And at this point in my life, I just love the lifestyle. I just returned, and I would ride my bicycle along these canals, and it was sunny. It averages like 75 degrees all year round. There are beaches galore, there are rainforest, and I just found it was a healing time for me. And it's like time in my life when I want to live a way that heals and nourishes and helps me to rejuvenate on an ongoing basis. So that's one of the primary reasons why I want to go back and experience life from that, that opportunity.
So you have been an advocate of women's health for decades, and now you've moved into an area that's very important and very intimate for so many of us, which is vaginal dryness. Can you kind of cover that so that we connect the dots with that? I know that you created a product and I want to talk about it, but tell me what's going on with women's health in general.
Yeah, uh, this issue, which we call vaginal dryness or vaginal atrophy, was brought to my awareness because when I was in my 40s, which is a while back, I didn't know what was happening other than when I was having sex, it was painful. It felt like the sandpaper was being rubbed inside me. And it's like, I've never had this before. What is going on? And obviously, it doesn't make sex very pleasurable. And it was a shock when this started to occur in my life. So it began a journey and began an investigation. And that is when I was really looking into what is happening to me. And it was the result of stress, of perimenopausal time of my life. And um, you know, I would say it probably was initiated by a lot of stress, which is what upsets all of hormonal systems. And that was the beginning of understanding this. And in my practice as a naturopathic doctor, focusing on women's health, I would see this all the time. And it's often a subject women do not talk about. They're very shy, embarrassed about it. And I would see this happening to women. I would ask women, and it would show up a lot. And that just,
In younger women as well as older women that are going through menopause and
yes.
beyond.
So here's the statistic. It's like 14 million women over the age of 18 have experienced vaginal dryness at some point or other. And a half of all of women over the age of 40 experience an episode, at least a period of time of vaginal dryness. And 2/3 of all women over the age of 60 name it as one of the primary symptoms that they're dealing with. So it's a huge issue. It affects many women. It's not just about menopause, as that statistic shows, even younger women, because stress can initiate it. It's the drying up of the fluids and mucosal membrane of the vaginal tract. Now, in some cases, that's caused by medications that we use to dry up our mucosal membranes, right? So,
like an antihistamine type thing.
yes. Yes, there are numerous medications. Chemotherapy can do it. Yes, you can have, an antihistamine can do it. And it's going to dry up all mucosal membranes. And the vaginal tract has a very important mucosal membrane. You have it, it's a protective barrier. And there are tissues in the vaginal tract that also secrete a liquid, which helps to lubricate and intensifies when we're aroused. So we have this lubrication during sex. But so there are medications and treatments that actually can suppress the body's ability to produce mucus and to dry up fluids. So that's one area that it shows up at. Hormonal changes in life, whether it is after giving birth, which is often a time when hormones are so dysregulated, that can really be a symptom emerging. It can be during these hormonal changes, whether it's perimenopause or menopause. As I said, stress, which is, I call it the great hormone disruptor, can really alter what's happening within that vaginal environment. And, even the birth control pill, Ann Louise, can alter our hormones and lead to vaginal atrophy. So many things.
So from a Western point of view, what are the hormones most connected to this condition? Are we talking about testosterone? Are we talking about estrogen? What have you found? And then we'll move to a traditional Chinese medicine overview.
Yeah, well, obviously what it is associated with when you go to your doctor, traditional medical allopathic approach will probably take your blood test and look at your hormones. And we can talk about why that's not an accurate assessment, but generally it's contributed to drop in estrogen levels. So, and it's, adequate estrogen levels are necessary to create moisture and lubrication, flexibility of tissues, keeping tissues soft and moist. So estrogen deficiency definitely shows up as one of the indications, which again could be from stress, could be from interference with natural hormone production like the birth control pill, from drugs, from a variety of things. So yes, and therefore the traditional model will prescribe estrogen in some form. Generally, it's prescribed as some sort of vaginal, delivery system of estrogen or estriol, which, as you know, when you have anything put into a cavity in your body, it's going to be absorbed. So it doesn't just stay in the vaginal tissues. It can be absorbed through your bloodstream in your body, which may or may not lead to more, potential problems and symptoms.
So from a Chinese medicine point of view, a Oriental or a Eastern point of view, what is going on? Does this have something to do with the lack of kidney function, the lack of kidney power that I've heard so much about when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine?
I love we're having this topic about traditional Chinese medicine.
I love traditional Chinese medicine. It saved my life so many times, Dr. Sherrill. So
yeah,
I want you to bring that into play. And I wonder if the kidneys and adrenals are the same. I mean,
yeah.
if they're basically the same when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine
So,
considerations.
yeah, so it's a really great conversation to have. I have been using acupuncture, for 40 years. I've been working with a master Chinese herbalist for that amount of time, and I have not been without his herbs at all during all this years. So that's helped me through all sorts of changes and issues. But basically, the model of traditional Chinese medicine when it comes to understanding women and aging and symptoms like vaginal dryness is the most profound for me, because we're not just looking at a symptom that's showing up that we try to alleviate. We're looking at an underlying disharmony going on within the body, which
underlying disharmony. So it's kind of more of a body, mind, and spirit overview.
Yes, we're looking at energetic imbalances in the body. So it's a message, right? It's a message that something is out of balance. And from the traditional Chinese point of view, we have two energy dynamics. One is called yang and one is called yin. And yang is the metabolism, the fire that generates energy in the body. And then there's yin, and yin is the energy that generates lubrication, moisture. Yin cools, yang is hot. And when we are aging and we are under stress, the term is yang overtakes yin. So what happens is that the moisture producing energies in the body dry up. Women who have vaginal dryness, it's not just showing up in vaginal dryness. Their skin gets drier. They may have dry eyes.
Exactly.
And, it's showing up as a systemic imbalance of this deficiency and of the yin. And why do we have that? Generally because we're stressed, we're eating the wrong food, we're nutritionally deficient. We may be at a stage of our life that is pulling us into this aging yang time. The Chinese would say as we age, yang overtakes yin. So yang could create more inflammation in the body. And it's like a radiator in a car that's running out of water and it starts heating up. So this is the pattern of aging, which is why I love traditional Chinese medicine and herbal medicine, because it is excelling at rejuvenating the body, right? It excels at correcting these pathologies, as they call them, these imbalances, so we can truly nourish. And that's what got me through this, Ann Louise. I started to make corrections, cleaned up the diet, reduced inflammation, started taking Chinese herbs that would...
Now, which Chinese herbs, pray tell?
Well, I actually work with a Chinese herbalist that creates customized formulas, because you can have a similar condition, but
A
what's
different root
showing up in
cause.
your body is different root causes. So it's customized, and I work with tongue diagnosis and symptoms, and consult with him, and he puts the formulas together. So it's not a stock formula, right? You just can't get it off the shelf. There are formulas that you could, but this is tailored to women very specifically and for a period of time, and then they can get tweaked as they improve and change. So it's an internal, what we want to do is to restore the internal imbalance and disharmony. But meanwhile, what do we do while we're doing that? Or, some women don't really know what to do, or may not even have the ability to do that. So what do we do to restore this environment and initiate this healing process so women can get on with their lives? They can get on with their sex lives. They can, reduce the incidence of incontinence. They can reduce the incidence of sexually transmitted diseases, because when you lose the protective barrier of your mucosal layer, it's like the drawbridge is down, right, Ann Louise, and things come in.
No,
and that's where we have UTIs and things like that.
That's so true. So traditional Chinese medicine, I've understood that Romania, for example, is a kidney herb good for rejuvenation. Have you found that to be so?
Yeah, well, what we're looking at with these issues is clearly an imbalance, and it's an imbalance occurring with the kidney energy. The kidney energy, which incorporates the adrenals and incorporates the kidney glands, but it's an energetic system. So it's found throughout the body and shows up in different ways. But it's, the kidney energy is the energy that we've inherited. So they call it this inherited energy. So the vitality of your mother at the time of conception is what this inherited energy is. So if your mother is sick and she carried you and you were sick, you probably inherited less of this vital energy. That's your storehouse. They always call it your trust fund. You shouldn't draw on your trust fund.
Yes.
And, but when we are aging, or when we're sick, or when we're stressed, we start using up our trust fund. And the kidney energy controls our bladder. It controls bones. It can affect our hearing, opens up in the ears. And the kidney
so tinnitus, let me just say, ear ringing probably is connected to this imbalance or disharmony.
It's one of the causes. Depending on the tone, Ann Louise, sometimes it's more liver, sometimes it's more kidney.
The two go hand in hand, don't they?
Yes.
Doesn't the kidney nourish the liver?
Yes. So
it's the mother lode here.
Yeah, and the kidney is impacting our hormones. It impacts our vital energy, our life force, our vitality. But in Chinese medicine, it's the kidneys, it's the liver, and it's the spleen that are the key systems that regulate and balance hormones.
The spleen, how does that come into play, my dear?
In Chinese medicine, the spleen makes the blood, the liver stores the blood. And if you are having problems with menstruation, let's say you're having heavy clots, it's always a sign that there's stagnation in the liver. And if you are eating the foods that damage the spleen, so sugar damages the spleen, alcohol damages the spleen, too much wheat can damage the spleen, too much cold can damage the spleen.
Damp, yes.
Mm-hmm. And so then your spleen, your immune system gets compromised. You start getting bloated. You start getting depressed, which I know really well, because that was a major dysfunction that I knew, I learned about when I was very young, that understanding why I was depressed and couldn't gain weight and couldn't gain muscle mass. It's all a spleen thing. I just had a compromised spleen function.
So are you a spleen type? Does that mean constitutionally that would be your weak point? I'm a kidney type. That's why I'm so interested in this.
I don't really know. I can tell you, and you've just written this fantastic book, and you've been interviewed on my past podcast, and it was awesome. I learned so much. And what I can tell you is this: I'm not sure what my predisposition is exactly, but I do know that because of what I have applied, what I have learned, what I've committed to, the changes and the openness and curiosity it lets me change and evolve. I actually can tell you, Ann Louise, I am healthier now probably than any other time in my life.
Oh, bless you. And how old are you, my dear? Even though you look 40, how old are you?
You know, I usually will not ever reveal it, but for you and only you and no one else is listening, I understand that. I just turned 73.
73 and going on 39. So you've
Yes.
reversed aging based
Yeah.
on what you've done. And you've also reversed vaginal dryness. Tell me about this new product that you created. I'm so excited. I want all my listeners to not only know about it, but actually to get a hold of it.
Yeah, you know, so it was just one of those God things, Louise, because I was just asked a question. If I could create a product, and I'm not a formulator, so it was like an unusual question. And they said, if I could formulate a product to help with something, what would it be? And what just popped out was, well, something to help vaginal dryness. So they asked me, well, what would be in it? And I hadn't prepared, but out of my mouth came the ingredients that I knew about and but had never been put together. So those ingredients include an herb from Thailand called Pereira mirifica. Have
Oh,
you heard of that?
yes, yes, yes. Don't they call that the Thai vine?
Well, it was, yes, it's from Thailand. It was only used by the royal family for a really long time because it had such powerful rejuvenating abilities and qualities. It was used by both men and women. And it has an ability to, it's a phytoestrogen, so it can stimulate the benefits of estrogen, but without raising estrogen levels, which then can become, of course, a risk factor for various hormone-dependent cancers. So it has, it's rejuvenating, it has a phytoestrogen benefit, but it's totally safe and profound in helping to rejuvenate these tissues. So that was one. Then I said, well, then we also need hyaluronic acid because hyaluronic acid is another one of those amazing natural substances made in our body, but can absorb 1,000 times its weight in water. So it naturally can plump up tissue. And it's really popular right now in all sorts of products. I use it, you know, topically all the time, but you can use it internally. And this was another ingredient that I mentioned. And then I said, well, let's also include omega-7 or sea buckthorn.
The collagen builder.
Yeah, I've been taking sea buckthorn for years and years after I learned about it, and it helps to restore the integrity of cell membranes. So it can, again, add, you know, as an essential fatty acid can help restore these membranes. And that's part of the cells that in our vaginal tract that need restoring. So it has omega-7. Then we added natural vitamin E because natural vitamin E is rejuvenating. It helps with inflammation and it helps to nourish the environment. We've added all natural aloe. So aloe helps to plump up tissue, helps to restore, helps to reduce inflammation. And the last secret ingredient is a product that's a nano silver. There's a company called Silver Biotics that I have been writing about and using for at least 20 years. And it is a unique nano silver product that has been proven to be effective against yeast and bacteria. And it creates this protective barrier that addresses these infections, which is often a problem that women are dealing with. So it's healing. The whole combination is healing, it's renewing, it's regenerating, it's restorative, not just a lubrication and not just an estrogen. It's doing all of these jobs that have to be done to create a healthy vaginal, a rejuvenated vaginal environment again.
So who should be using the product? Are there women of a certain age and stage of life? Is this good for a PMS person, a person going through menopause? What would you suggest?
I would suggest it's a great product for anyone, number one, who's experiencing burning, irritation, whether you're experiencing it during sex, which is often how women know about it, right? So if there's any irritation, and discomfort during sex. Often women, especially if you're not in a relationship, but they can feel like there is burning going on in the vaginal tract. They can sometimes see either during sex or anytime, just like some blood showing up, which is the tearing. When you lose the ability to lubricate and have this mucosal lining of your vaginal tract, your tissues become so much more vulnerable. And then you can start having these little lesions and tears, right? So the tissues thin out, and that can cause inflammation. It can cause infections. We talked about without that protection, you can be more vulnerable to candida, bacterial vaginosis, UTIs. This is why as women get older, they're more vulnerable to all these things, because their whole vaginal environment has dried up. The protection is gone. The tissues are now becoming, harder, so to speak. They don't have that suppleness anymore, so they can tear more easily. And, you're just really uncomfortable. So it can be for women who are experiencing some of these symptoms after they give birth. If under severe stress, you're noticing that these symptoms are showing up, you take it at that point. If you are menopausal and see this as an ongoing condition, you may want to be using it, on a regular basis. It's safe, Ann Louise. There are no chemicals at all in this product. And the last thing you want to do is use a product either as a lubricant or to heal with chemicals, because there are products that have a chemical called chlorhexidine. If you ever heard of that, antibacterial.
Oh, yes.
Propylene glycol, parabens, all are toxic chemicals. And even the popular KY jelly and Replens alter the pH of the vaginal tract, which then opens you up to candida and, all sorts of uninvited guests, right?
I love that. So why would this be better than a bioidentical cream?
Because bioidentical creams are just trying to up the estrogen level to help replenish. But this is healing, rejuvenating. It's creating a healthy environment with the silver that is protecting you from candida, from SPVs, from vaginosis. Often women have these conditions. They attribute it to candida, but it can also be a bacterial infection called bacterial vaginosis. It doesn't matter. The silver in it is able to basically eliminate these infections. And so you're healing the tissues, you're regenerating the tissues, you're creating a healthy environment. It's like doing all these jobs. Estrogen, first of all, you need a script and it gets expensive, and it'll help to replenish tissues, but it won't do all of the rejuvenative effects that this really complex and pure natural formula can do.
So how do you use it? Is this a cream? Is it a pellet? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's a suppository. So we call it Hygeena, and it's a suppository. So this is, it comes as a little suppository in a casing. You want to, I suggest women keep it in the fridge just to harden the ingredients. Otherwise they would melt and get a little more difficult to work with. And then you can use, I just tell women to basically use only half of one of these suppositories and use it at night so it can melt and be absorbed in that, in the vagina. And it's, bathing all those tissues. It's bathing all those tissues overnight, giving it a good, exposure to all of these natural
ingredients.
Yes. So can I read you a testimonial?
Please do. Please do.
Okay, this is from one of my patients that came to me after, she didn't even know that I had any association with this product, interestingly enough. And she wrote me.
But you formulated the product, am I right?
Yes. Yeah. I formulated it, and the person who was asking me was with a company that makes suppositories, but they never made a vaginal one like this before.
Huh.
So this is what she said. Honestly, it's a healing miracle in a jar. In May, I had my annual pap smear with my OBGYN. My results revealed a negative pap, positive for high risk HPV and severe vaginal bacteriosis. I was prescribed Metrogel vaginal, but my symptoms worsened. I consulted with a new doctor and she prescribed oral methronidazole, I don't know what that is, and stated it's often more effective for treating my symptoms. Upon further testing, my labs revealed that my vaginal infection had reoccurred and the bacteria count had doubled. I began taking antibiotics as prescribed and it cleared my infection, but only for a very short time. My infections continued to reoccur frequently and my symptoms became chronic. I've tried many different products to help alleviate my symptoms, but I was disappointed with the results. I then decided to skip the conventional treatments, which had failed me, and consult with a naturopathic doctor. He recommended Hygeena, along with various natural remedies to help boost my immune system. I immediately started using Hygeena, and after using just a few suppositories, my vaginal health began to improve significantly. I'm asymptomatic and no longer experience intense vaginal burning, itching, discharge, odor, pain, dryness, or tissue damage. In December, I repeated my lab work and my results finally came back negative for her HPV risk. I'm continuing to use this wonderful product. I'm currently healed, pain and symptom free. Hygeena has simply changed my life and I'm so happy I found this healing miracle in a jar. I love that, right? Because that's so many women right there.
There's so many women right there. Now, can people use this if they're also using an estriol bias type cream?
If they're using a topical one, you mean, or vaginal?
Vaginal.
You know,
I'm thinking of all my patients right now.
You could, but I think this would, it's kind of standalone. But if you could combine it. But if this could do what the estrogen could do,
then you don't need the estrogen. You don't need the biased.
Yes. Yes. Now, I also got a testimonial from a doctor from the Isle of Man, and he is treating women who have Sherrill syndrome. So this is, we know, is an autoimmune disease that attacks the mucosal membranes of the body. So it dries up the eyes and it was drying up the vaginal tract. And he gave it to one of his patients, and this woman had complete healing of her vaginal tract and vaginal atrophy. And he just said impressive in his response. So there you go.
How long has this been on the market, Dr. Sherrill?
Just trying. It just came out this year, so it's about 8 months that it's been in the market.
And how do people hear about it?
Well, the company's doing marketing. I've been doing some writing of articles. I have some articles I've put together about it, and getting out with shows like this, helping to let women know that there is this superior product. There are many products out there that have vitamin E in it, and some have pure mirifica, but I don't know of any product that has been formulated with this, compilation of ingredients.
Yes, unique array of ingredients. I don't disagree. How can people get it from your website?
Well, they can because, and I recommend it because I am offering a big discount because it's just been launched. So if people go to my website, drsherrillsellman.com.
You're going to spell it, please, my dear.
I will. It's because it's an unusual name, as you know.
Yes.
So it's Dr. Sherrill is SHERRILL, 2 R's and 2 L's, and Sellman is SE 2 L's LLMAN. So SELLMAN.com. And if they go to my store, it's discounted like 30%. So people can get it if they like it and write a testimonial. The company is willing to give them a free jar. So there's lots of great opportunities for women to try it out and be compensated if they want to share their experiences, because it is a passion, Ann Louise. I am really passionate about getting this message out because vaginal dryness can be this silent and embarrassing condition that so compromises the quality of our life.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, Spell Hygeena for my people, please.
Hygeena.
Is this the only product that you're thinking of making, or is there going to be a whole line of products?
Interesting you should ask that question, because there are more products coming with some other particular focus and particular ingredients that do special jobs.
Do you want to give us a sneak preview?
Well, not really, because I don't really know what we're going to formulate with, but there's like looking at some ECGC, so some green tea extract that's really great to help with healing the vaginal tract. So there's some other herbal ingredients that I think we're going to explore working with. And if you have any suggestions, let me know.
I was thinking of a skincare line with some of those unique ingredients.
Yeah. Oh, a topical one. Yeah.
Yes.
Be interesting.
Serums and creams and sprays and liposomal.
Oh my God, it's like we have a whole industry ahead of us here.
You do. But you know, this is just one of your wonderful new projects. I know that you believe that healing with frequencies is important. Would you like to just share a little bit about that? What do you mean by frequencies?
Yes, I would like to share that. You know, there's a quote that I just came across by a scientist who said, we are 1 billionth matter. 1 billionth matter, and the rest of us is energy. Yeah, so we're moving into a time where frequency and energy healing is going to become the true path to healing. And I know you are very involved and you love working with technologies as well as I do, for years and years working with energies. You know, everything resonates in this universe. And, you know, it's like when I go and find my car in a parking lot and I hit my remote, it's my unique frequency of that car, right? It doesn't open up anyone else's car. It's a frequency, it's a communication going on. So we all have this composite of our unique frequencies. Every cell has a frequency, every organ has a frequency. And, you know, we know this with bioenergetic medicine. We can test the strength of these organ systems. So energy medicine is the future. Einstein said that, that energy medicine is the medicine of the future. And this is the place when we are dealing with our energetic bodies, it's where it's primary. That energy will determine the signatures of the cells and the organs. So if your energy is balanced and harmonized, you're getting the right information for cells to restore proper functioning. And when we are altering our frequencies, it could be because we're exposed to EMFs, it could be because we are in chronic pain. All these things are a frequency that actually is disconnecting us from optimal health and well-being. So there are amazing technologies now that are able to go and work primarily on your energy body. And one of the technologies, and I don't know if you heard about it, Ann Louise, but there's a technology called Healy that was developed by a German man who spent 12 years as a monk and then went on and studied quantum physics and was always finding his purpose, a way to expand consciousness and healing. So this is the technology he developed, and it is able to actually go in and assess a person's energy field, see the frequencies that are needing to be elevated, and then deliver those frequencies into that person's energy field, which sounds pretty wild and crazy, except it works. And I work with people all over the world. And the thing about this technology that is unique, it was designed to be a wearable device. You don't have to go to a practitioner to get your energies assessed and balanced. It's for individuals. So it's a little device that is used when you download an app on your phone or your iPad, and you wear this little device. And I have had amazing healing results working with my clients anywhere in the world. So this is where it's at. You know, it's not matter to matter. I mean, you know, we all love our food, we all love our supplements, but the real source of healing happens in our energetic field.
No, there's no question. And that's where disease starts.
And it's also, and I like to say this too, Ann Louise, I think we're living in a time where it is imperative that we have health sovereignty, that we learn how and have the resources so we can heal ourselves and not feel fearful or, or powerless or helpless, that we actually have available the tools that can restore our health, can regenerate our health, and can shift our consciousness. When you are feeling happy and you have energy and you're free of pain, your thinking changes, right? Your whole thinking,
There's
perception.
no question. There's no question. But don't you believe, and this just leads me to my last question in this very exciting and enlightening interview, Dr. Sherrill, that there is a lot of emotional trauma that still needs to be healed? Isn't that the reason that there are issues with the tissues, so to speak? Unhealed childhood traumas, how would one deal with that with frequency medicine?
Okay, so I absolutely agree. In fact, in the lectures I do and what I'm studying, the underlying all of our craziness, whether it's disease process or areas of our body that need healing, or whether it's our, stress response, all of it boils down to unresolved emotional trauma. Anne Louise, I have traveled to the jungles of Peru and the Amazon working with shaman to understand this with their plant medicine. I have studied all sorts of modalities that allow us to get to the deepest core of where we hold these distorted frequencies of fear, of anger, of feeling unloved, of feeling disconnected, so we can restore our sense of wholeness. Well, frequency medicine is another way that it is able, and this is my experience as well, to go in and with this Healy technology, and I can just talk about that one because that's the one I'm using now. It can go in, it goes into your field. You can choose Bach flower remedies, Alaskan gem elixirs, you can choose Australian bush flowers, you can choose homeopathic, lesser salts. You can choose not only organs and systems, or this technology can find these imbalances on the emotional level and on the spiritual level, and even on the soul level. With frequencies can harmonize and bring us into greater balance, helping us to move forward. I've also been studying a technique called the emotion code, where we can go in on the unconscious level and clear all these trapped emotions. There are many tools, but that is the primary work for anyone who wants to not only heal, but rejuvenate and regenerate, because it's these trapped, unresolved traumas, wherever they come from, this lifetime, before birth, at birth, wherever, that actually are causing us the pain and suffering.
And let me ask you this, and then we'll close off, because I know that I want people to go directly to your website and get the Hygeena, for heaven's sakes, and check out Dr. Sherrill Sellman. Would you say that is it important to figure out the source of the unhealed trauma, or to just get rid of it?
Well, it's always important to just get rid of it. So
I think you can spend years in therapy and any other kind of treatment just trying to figure out where the heck it came from.
I've spent the first 20 years of my life as a psychotherapist working with mind-body approaches. Let me tell you, I didn't really care about the story. Stories are relevant. I just was looking for tools that can resolve it, that can shift, heal it, resolve it, make peace with it, wherever that came from. So I use some really powerful tools in my therapy. And my own evolution has taken me to some of these technologies that are able to do it even faster and easier. And you don't need a therapist to do it, but everyone needs to meditate. So I just want to throw that in there, that we have great tools, but it's always important for us to understand we need to have these disciplines to connect back into places where we align ourselves with our power. So we have to do our work.
Yes, and at night I'm now sleeping on Tesla bio healing energy frequencies. It's
Well, I know.
actually two generators that I'm sleeping on for complete rejuvenation, because whenever you finish a book and you know what it takes out of you, you become a little empty of all the good energy that you need to restore and heal and regenerate. So whatever it takes, my darling, is what we need to embrace. Don't you agree?
I absolutely, and people have to be open, they have to be curious, they have to be willing to invest time, energy, whatever, money to make this journey in this lifetime the most fulfilling, the happiest, the most vital, the most rejuvenating one possible.
What a lovely note to close on. Thank you so much for being on my podcast, First Lady of Nutrition. Will you come back, Dr. Sherrill Sellman?
Anytime, I'd be there in a flash.
Lovely. And I want to say thank you to all my listeners for tuning in yet once again to First Lady of Nutrition. Remember to visit me at AnnLouise.com for all the latest podcasts, for all the latest blogs, articles, and news that you can use. And also to visit cs-health.com for a wonderful sulforaphane product that I use on a daily basis to rejuvenate my skin and act as a natural skin protector, as well as an anti-aging sunscreen internally. So cs-health.com is my newest sponsor, and I want to thank you all once again. I wish you shalom, health, vitality, and lots of love. Hi, everybody. I'm Ann Louise here with just one more thing. Thank you so much for being a fan of my work. And if you like this video, please check out all my other videos. Please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications.